When I was younger, I wouldn't want to hear this. I'd want someone to tell me, listen, go 100%. You only got a few years to make this happen. Go. And there's definitely some truth to that. You should maximize hard training when you can, but there is an element of playing the long game that should not be neglected. And that's one thing, if I could go back and look at my training early on, that if I could have improved it, I would have played the long game a little bit better. So for me, that would have been, setting up more of a realistic approach where when I say realistic, a sustainable approach more so than anything, because if you're in this constant state of training so hard, dieting so hard, being so extreme with it, there's always going to be a period after where you have to somehow recover from it, whether that means you have to deload, take time off from the gym, or train easier for a certain period of time. And when we talk about the extremes in bodybuilding, you'll see this a lot more in the average community, but you'll also see this more with even pro bodybuilders, where they'll kind of go through phases and seasons where you'll see this with a lot of competitors. They'll compete and then 6 months afterwards, they're doing nothing, because the approach that they took was so extreme that there was no way they can mentally sustain it long term. So they had to follow it up with that rest period, whatever the rest period is for them. For some people, that's no training. For some people, that's binge eating. So if your training is so hard that it requires that type of recovery after that, you're taking 2 steps forward, but then you're stepping backwards again. So did you really move forward at the same pace you would have if you just had a steady, consistent progress moving forward? I think now, like I said, today, my approach is definitely more on consistently moving forward rather than training so hard that you need that recovery time, because I needed it too. There were so many times where I would train for 6 months at a time on a very extreme program where just mentally I was so burnt out afterwards that the next 6 months of training were so poor because I couldn't push myself the same way I could. And I'd have to mentally recover from that. But now, if I were to take the approach of just training consistently, so if we're going to use an example and we're going to say going at 100% like you would in HIIT all the time versus where I'm at right now, which is 80 to 90%, I could go 80 to 90% much longer than I can go 100. That's for sure. What I learned was according to what I had read and consumed over the years, if I wasn't getting the results, it's because I wasn't training hard enough. But the thing is, I was already going in there training harder than my recovery abilities. And everyone, online in the books, the things I read, I actually have, it's funny we're talking about it. I have Mike Mentzer's book right here.